All right, Anson, thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to have you on for kind of a couple of reasons that we'll get into. But to start off with, so probably right now, the kids these days that are involved in track and field, they probably best know you as being a sprint analyst. And you do like a lot of work on social media. You've got your Instagram show, you've got your YouTube show, and all that kind of stuff. Um, was this something that you always kind of figured you were going to go into? And talk to us a little bit about how you transitioned from being an Olympic athlete to where you are now.
Well, funny enough, nah, man. I never had plans of being in the broadcasting space, man. It kind of just happened. I would say that in general, I've always been somewhat of a storyteller. A lot of my friends would know me as being as such, and having a sense of performing, I guess. But um, I kind of ended up within it by accident. I was planning on doing my third Olympics, the 2012 Olympics, and season was going well. Long story short, um, one of my heated nationals had a cramp in between rounds, wasn't able to perform as well as I wanted to in the finals. And then CBC, Canada's
Mhm.
national broadcaster, contacted me and they're like, "Hey, you want to come in and do some analysis? Since you're here, you might as well just." And I was like, "Okay." I figured I'd go in and do a little 1-2, but um, I did it and I liked it, and the feedback was pretty good. And I was like, "No, I feel like I can do this." So I started asking some questions around, and they put me in contact with the staffing director, and he was like, "Well, you're gonna have to go to broadcasting school, and you're gonna have some sort of background if you're gonna be in a building like this, talking sports. You don't just walk in just because you're an athlete." So I was like, "Cool." So I went to broadcasting school. That worked out well. They took two interns from the program I was at to go to CBC. I was one of them. Um, but I was the only one that I was the only one that ended up sticking around and getting a full time position. So that landed me in that space. But when I was in broadcasting school, I realized I didn't only want to be an on air person. I like the production side of things. I like editing. I like putting stories together, and I had a knack, especially within sports, especially within track and field.
Mhm.
So it just kind of created my path. Like, yeah, I'm an on air personality, but um, a lot of people don't realize all the stuff I do. I edit,
Mhm.
I cut, I produce, I write. The mini docs I do. Um, and even like just the storylines of different stories I want to pursue. It's just, I'm creating the stories. So um, within track and field, it's kind of a home for me because I have a real love for it. And I realized that it's someone with my athletic background doesn't usually come with my production background and stay within the sport. Usually you gather the skills that I have over almost 10 years with a corporate broadcaster and go and do something else
Mhm.
where you're guaranteed to get some some residuals out of it, right? But I just want to use what I have to make the sport be seen for what it actually is, because I love the sport and I feel like I can contribute to it in a way that no one ever has. And I just want to make track right, man.
Yeah, do you know what? And I feel like one thing that stands out about yourself, to me at least, is the way I feel like you're connecting with like the kind of the audience of like the social media era. So obviously you're kind of a big, you do a lot of work on social media. Um, but I think the way, like speaking about your production, speaking about the way you edit things, I feel like it really connects with kind of a younger audience. And I feel like that this is and I don't want to make this like a negative podcast. I try to keep it like real positive, but like I think one of the complaints about track and field is that it's kind of like it's an old man
Boring.
sport in terms of, yeah. So from like the people that like to watch it are aging and we're not getting young fans in. And I feel like
Right.
you're doing a good job at connecting with those potential young fans and bringing them into the sport and present it in a way where it's like it hooks them in.
Yeah, I feel like most track and field athletes in general are about um 10 years immature, roughly, because we put our lives on hold
Yeah.
for about 10 years to pursue the sport. So um because I was able to stay connected to the sport also through CBC, I was still in contact with a lot of the athletes and aware of what's going on. And Yeah, and just being with the corporate broadcaster, you got to kind of have an idea of what's gonna pop. I didn't agree with everything they were doing, but I have a sense for things, and I just feel like track and field hasn't evolved when it
Mhm.
comes to um how it's presented. I always say it's like the BlackBerry of sports. Like it's BlackBerry was amazing. It was loved. I loved BlackBerry. Yeah, I would rock a BlackBerry now if I could. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is it hasn't evolved with apps and
Yeah.
how quickly things move, and
Mhm.
it became obsolete. I see track and field going down a path where it's so stuck in its ways that it could stick in its ways out of sports, and it's too valuable of a product to be wasted like that. So I'm just trying to, in my own way, position things to where it fits in the world of sport, and it's important. And usually people don't stick around long enough. They have the skill set to make that happen. They don't stick around long enough to actually make it happen. But I'm gonna see this through. And right now things are going in the right direction. And I the way I make content is very different from a lot of people that make content within the track field space. I take a lot of risks. I'm a lot more edgy. You're one of the only people that gave me an interview without my hood on and everything, because we were talking about it earlier. My alter ego is with the hood, and I'm an outspoken person in general, but I mean, when I'm on camera and when I'm in character, there's nothing really much that I hold back. I obviously have respect for all the competitors and
Mhm.
a lot of the people that I speak to. Respect is out of the question, but I'm pretty open about what I see and what I think, and I'll ask the critical questions because um they're necessary a lot of the time. I understand there's a line where you don't want to make certain people too uncomfortable, or you don't want to bring things to the surface that um aren't necessarily supposed to come to the surface at that given time. But I you know what, I have a good sense of stuff like that. And at the end of the day, all the athletes know that I'm not really out to harm them. I'm out to entertain. I'm out to get them recognition, and I'm out to um, make track and field more of a household sport as opposed to a niche sport, because it's not supposed to be niche. You know what I'm saying? You know that. Um, but it's becoming niche
Yeah, for sure. And,
and
and I don't
worse.
I don't feel like it needs to. It's such like the premise of track and field is so basic, right? So it's like sprinting. You just get two people that run over a short distance. Whoever gets to the line wins. And like that shouldn't be niche because it's so simple. Like everybody can understand it. So the time of this recording it's a couple of days after the Super Bowl. And when I was on, so being British, living in the States, I'm watching the Super Bowl and I'm on Twitter at the same time. And it was quite funny seeing like how invested all the people that I followed are American, how into it they were. And, like they were like, oh, this is a great game. This is unbelievable. And then I'm seeing some British followers going, what the hell is going on? I don't understand this game. Like
Mm.
and track isn't like that because it's so basic. You don't need to have somebody to stand next to you really explaining except for some very kind of specific scenarios, with like the false start rule or something like that. But generally it's like whoever drops the furthest, they win. Whoever gets to the line first, they win. Who throws the furthest, they win. And so I think that that's a really kind of attractive quality that track and field has, and we need to do a job to make sure that we're presenting it as such.
Yeah, and I think we should own that. Like, our sport's pretty cut and dry. There's no, it's the majority of events you're not going to win with savvy or cleverness or
Mm-hmm.
some extra shit stuff. Sorry, this is
No,
David Ayers
yeah, you're fine.
podcast.
You're fine.
Okay, just
Yeah, and I feel your
I
boots. Say
get
what you
down
need
on
to
sprint
say.
culture. It's different. Okay, yeah. So, um, yeah, you're not gonna get by with anything much outside of raw athletic ability. There's not many sports that are just pretty cut and dry, black and white. Like, you got to just do it, and it's gonna be measured clinically.
Mhm.
So that's something that we have. That's something we should own. That's something that we should relish. You know what I'm saying? There's not any other sports like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just comes down to presentation, man. It just comes down to presentation. And we've been dropping the ball on presentation on the bigger broadcasters. I see NBC evolving.
Okay.
And you know, I'll see like during the Olympics, CBC does a really good job with the Olympics. But from a monetary standpoint, the corporate broadcasters can't make much off of track and field during the in-between years, which is why they don't invest that much time and effort and resources into trying to present it better. But it has all the tools. You know, it's got attractive athletes. It's got athletic prowess. It's got amazing athletic feats. It's the closest measure to human capabilities.
Yep.
Out of anything. This is human capabilities. What can the human body do in any respect? Jumping, throwing, running, sprinting, measuring your power, your endurance, your explosive, everything. You know what I'm saying? It's what the human body can do, measured and critiqued and dissected. This is a huge asset to not only from an entertainment standpoint, but from a human knowledge standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has a body, but we don't always get to clearly see what the body can do. And this is what track and field is. This is what it presents. We just got to highlight more of what's going to be attractive and engaging with people. We're not connecting to people. That's the problem. We're not connecting. And we can dissect how the presentation needs to be better, but the problem is we're not connecting to people, because once we connect to people, the rest of it's going to be pretty easy, because the sport's going to take care of itself in all other respects.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel from listening to what you're saying there, kind of, I feel like it should be fairly simple to connect to people, because you can, like you're saying, we're measuring what the human body can do. So you can have anybody that's watching a track meet on TV, theoretically, go and run 100 meters and see how fast they can run 100 meters. And then it adds some layer of context, right? So it's like, well, this is me. I always remember the first time I used to think I ran like Carl Lewis, right? I used to think like, this is, I felt it myself. I bet when people watch me, they think he runs like Carl. And then I saw the first time I ever ran on video, and I was like, that is not like Carl. And it's like, and so, you feel like you're going there as fast as you can. And this can't be this different to what the guys on TV are doing. And then obviously for the vast, vast majority of the population, it is very different. So I feel like that's a way that the average population can be connected to track and field and give it some kind of context. It's like, do you know how incredible it is what these athletes are doing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's literally the majority of people in some respect have done some aspect of track and field throughout their life. Everyone's thrown something. Everyone's jumped. Everyone's ran or sprinted. Obviously, if you've got the physical pieces to the body, you've done these things. The majority of the population have done these things, so they have perspective of, what the actual action is, and they would have an understanding of the difficulty to be able to duplicate what these track and field athletes are doing, because these track and field athletes are dedicating their lives to honing in on these crafts. They're diligently piecing their body together in order to do whatever discipline that they do to world-class ability. And when you talk world-class, you're talking about 99th percentile type deal. Like, you're not going to come across, I mean, to be honest, like, the highest I've ever been ranked by the end of a season is like 11th in the world, right? Most people I meet, I'm the fastest person they've ever met. Yeah, there's a lot of people that beat me, but those were like really, really fast people. We're not normal people, right? So it's taken for granted just because so much emphasis is put on the gold medalist because it's so simple to get a gold medal, I guess. But um, you walk across, you come across an NBA player, you don't necessarily care if they're an NBA champion or
Hmm.
if they
Yeah.
were an NBA MVP. They're in the NBA, so they're obviously something. So if you've run professional track and field, you've been on the circuit, you've been to the Olympics, you've been to the World Championships, you've done all these things, you are something. You know what I'm saying? It's just aside from the presentation standpoint, having a distinguished organization, um, it's a little bit cluttered. It's not very clear. I think that's not helping track and field right now either. Um, but it just that needs to be distinct as well. Like what a track and field athlete is and what they can do, and then how you show people,
And I think that,
and then where they can
sorry,
find it, because of finding a track meet is obviously something, some other issues
yeah,
we got to deal with. But it's just all those things. It's very simple issues, but they're issues. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
okay. And I think like going back to what you were saying there in terms of like distinguishing what a track and field athlete is. And I feel like that line gets blurred or disrespected. Like, was it yesterday when Tyreek Hill popped up on Trayvon's Twitter timeline talking about racing? So we
Yes,
entered
sir.
these conversations about people coming in from other sports thinking, I could be an Olympic gold medalist if I wanted. I just need to run. And I think that it kind of, and the amount of people that follow the NFL. So I don't know how many followers Tyreek Hill has versus how many followers Trayvon Bromell has, but I would guess that Tyreek Hill has significantly more. I might be wrong and apologize if I'm being disrespectful there. But the amount of people that are going to be hanging on Tyreek Hill's words, and they're going to think that like that's not opinion, that's fact. It's like, oh, if Tyreek Hill wanted to run the 100 meters at the Olympics, then he'd be the world's fastest man. It's as simple as that. And then I think that track and field athletes get discredited for situations like that. And in the UK, we have the same thing with soccer players and like misguided journalism that's comparing, I don't know, some Premiership soccer players' 30-meter fly time with Usain Bolt's 0 to 30. And it's like you're comparing two different things, but you create a story out of it and it discredits the track and field athletes.
Well, that's the thing. You can reach more people. You can spread a larger message, even if it's stupid. Like Tyreek is either delusional or he understands exactly what he's doing. He has a large reach, so he can say this stuff, and more people are going to hear it and probably believe what he says. And less people are going to realize that what he's saying is ludicrous. He okay. He's not going to race Trayvon Bromell.
No, I don't think
It
so.
wouldn't. He's definitely not going to do that. If he did that, I would love it because Trayvon would embarrass him. Now, what I know what he's trying to do is try to get to Bolt, because Bolt is the premier name of the sport in history, and he's obviously vulnerable. He hasn't been doing anything, so there's a chance to potentially beat him in a 40. And Bolt doesn't look like he's in that great a shape, so who knows what can happen in something longer. But it's obvious because he's older and retired now. That's the only reason why that's even a discussion.
Yep.
And then he can get some sort of clout from it. In general, everybody wants to be the fastest man in the world. It's what cooler title is there other than that, other than maybe the heavyweight
100%.
champion of the world? So it's cool to say I'm the fastest man in the world, or I can beat the fastest man in the world, because this is an asset that track and field has that is kind of being slept on. The fastest man in the world. Most of those NFL football players would love to be the fastest man in the world. They probably grew up thinking that that was this amazing thing. I wouldn't say that there's any track and field athletes that are like, oh, I wish I could be a Super Bowl champion. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I could have however many receptions within a year. I wish that I could be NFL MVP. No one's track and field athletes ain't even thinking or talking like that. We don't think about that. We think about
Our sport.
the fastest, yeah, and
Yeah.
the fastest man in the world, the actual real title. They're looking at us. We're not looking at them. So, and they
Mm-hmm.
understand that title is way more valuable and prominent because it's individual than anything they could do. So they're going to try and take jabs at that as much as they can because it gives them cred. But it's obvious that the value is there because they're going after it because it gives them cred. That's the only reason. You can look at the dollar signs and say that what they do is more valuable because of the dollar signs, but that's all just a business plan. NFL has a much better business plan
Mhm.
and much better way to connect to people and to monetize. It doesn't mean that what they have is more valuable, because it definitely isn't. That's why they keep on trying to compare themselves to sprinters. That's where it's at.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
clear.
yeah, for sure. And I think that like, so there's a couple of points that I want to make on what you've just said there. So firstly, I've got huge respect for DK Metcalf because 2 years ago he showed
Huge.
up. He talked and he backed it up with actually faster than I think a lot of people thought he was going to run. Certainly, I wasn't expecting 10-3.
Me neither.
And just to kind of talk a little bit about the business plan of the NFL. I don't know. I think it was probably 20, it was the end of 2018 or end of 2019. They did that. Was it 40 yards of gold where they had the football players all do it? It was like a knockout tournament and Marquise Goodwin
That
won it.
was tight, man.
It
That
was,
was
it was
cool. That
good.
was, it was a
It
cool
was good.
event. Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if track and field can learn from that. Like that's definitely out of my realm of expertise. But it was like that brought in viewers. It's exciting. So I paid the whatever it was, $40 to so I could get the stream and watch it.
Mm.
So they're doing something right there, and like that tells me that people are excited to see who the fastest person is. And like we said, that's what track and field is. So there's got to be an avenue to exploit that. So not exploit, but like promote it, get people invested, get people watching.
Yeah, it's just presentation, man, and it's just about building characters. And within track and field, there's loads of characters, man, and I think that's what I try to bring out of people more when I get them on sprint culture, or I get them in sprint reviews, or I get them in any
Mhm.
in my vicinity. I want people to see them for what they really are. Some of them are really cool, some of them are really funny, some of them are really intelligent. Um, but they're what was cool about them also is that they're individuals. Like, it's cool. Team sports are cool, but it takes a different type of mindset and mentality to go out and perform by yourself,
It's all on
for
me.
yourself. It's all on you, and it's good or bad. It's me, and I'm the one putting all the work in. I'm the one that's being responsible. I'm the one making the sacrifices. I'm the one pushing my limits, and I'm the one taking on all the pressure. And I'm the one that's gonna either come out on top or fail. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one putting it on the line. Me. I'm not depending on nobody. It's me. And it's a unique mentality that we have throughout the entire sport. And the thing is, I feel like it's not within the culture of track and field at this stage. I feel like it was back in the day, but at this stage, for athletes to be themselves, for them to be open, for them to just loosen up a bit, just let the world see who they are,
Yeah.
and to approach the sport in their own real and unique way. It's pretty cookie cutter. You come out, say what you're supposed to say when you do your interviews. Don't say too much. Um, hit the points that most people ask and most people are expecting. And go on about your business. Don't really show who you are. Once you get back into the warm up area or back around your crew, start being yourself again,
Yeah.
which sucks because it's being hidden. It's like it's untapped track and field. But the athletes want to be out there. They want to show themselves. Um, it's in this box right now that's a bit confusing as to why this box is being held together like this. But I'm not into this box, and while I'm doing what I do, that box doesn't mean anything to me. And the majority of athletes that come across me know that I'm not about that, and I just want them to be seen for the value that they have, and I want the sport to get the prominence that it deserves. And it's there for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, I get very much get the impression that the athletes appreciate what you do. So, like when possible, I tune into your IG lives and stuff like that. And, even the athletes that aren't being featured, they're not on the live. You can see in the comments that it's like a who's who of 2023 world-class sprinting that's tuning in and watching. And so that just straight away gives me the impression, that they feel you're providing something of value. And I think that you made the comment earlier on about you would like you'll ask challenging questions, but you want to show a level of respect for everybody that's competing, and all the competitors. And that tells me as well that that they feel respected, and there's definitely an appreciation of what you're doing. So yeah, like I think you're doing the sport a huge service, and I definitely enjoy your content. So yeah.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
So kind of like moving on a little bit, or moving back. So obviously you're an athlete. Do you miss that? Do you miss being an athlete?
And in some ways, yes, and in most ways, no. I don't miss the the uncertainty, and I don't miss the damage to my body that I was doing every day. Um, and I would say that it's just oh, it's constant stress, man, because believe it or not, every athlete that's out there believes that they should be the best. And if you're not the best, you basically just feel like you spend the majority of your career feeling like a failure. It's not it's I'd say 95% of the athletes out there feel like they if the stars align and if the certain sequence of events happen, they could be the best in the world. And there's only one gold medal in every event. And even after you get that gold medal, it's kind of like, okay, well, get the gold medal again and get the gold medal again. It's never ending quote unquote torture with no guarantees really. So that was that's something I don't miss, but at the same time, I kind of like or I miss having. I mean, I have a different purpose now, but I miss that purpose of just being the best and where I could take my body, like, and having a dream of having that moment. You know what I'm saying, and it just being so real to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I miss that aspect. I miss the track and field life is a cool life. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of fun. On the other side of the stress, it's a unique life. You know what I'm saying? You've seen the world, you're meeting a lot of different people. Um, you're going to all these big, unique venues, you're experiencing all these crowds, and um, it's a cool lifestyle. It's a very cool lifestyle. And I'd say I miss that aspect in some respects, but I very much like viewing the sport from this side. It's a lot less stressful. A lot less stressful, and it's just safer on this side. You know what I'm saying? I paid my dues. I really did it. You know what I'm saying? I experienced some highs and I experienced some lows. Um, but people know that when I'm speaking for someone who's walked the path.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, whether I'm saying something positive or I'm saying something negative, I have perspective, and I think I'm just trying to utilize that perspective in the best way for the sport. And yeah, that's the purpose I have now, and I'm at peace with that purpose now, as opposed to trying to be the fastest man in the world.
Yeah. I mean, so I think one of the things that you said early on, which was really interesting, was the damage you were doing to your body. And I think that there's like sport and health aren't necessarily synonymous, right? So, like I view it like a bell-shaped curve. Like you got like on one side somebody that sits on the couch all day. That's not healthy. So you do
Right.
activity up to a level which is probably the optimal level of health, and then you kind of keep going, doing more and more and more and more, and then it becomes
Mm.
less healthy again. So I think that was an interesting point. And the other thing that I wanted to say was like your journey through being an athlete, that's obviously brought you to where you are now. Like the answer to your very first question, had you have not walked that path, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now, most likely, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If I didn't get injured at the Olympic trials, I wouldn't even be in broadcasting. I would have made the team, and I would have gone to another Olympics, and then I, mean, I wasn't about to get a medal at that Olympics. So 2012 was what the medalists were Bolt, Blake and Gatlin, and I wasn't ready to run 9 seconds at that point in my career. So who knows? I might have try it again the following year, and the following year. A lot of people get caught up in that rut trying to chase the dream because it just feels so real and they really feel like they could do it, right? If you're in it, you have to have that sort of belief. So that injury kind of took me on the path I was supposed to be on, and it was a blessing in disguise. Um, but I get it when people aren't ready to stop. And I'm not really the type to tell people that they should stop. If they ask, I'll give my opinion. But if I feel like if I see that someone really has a real belief that they can still do it, I'm not going to get in the way of that.
Mhm.
They can find that out on their own path, and what they get out of that, the lessons, the good or the bad, is for them. But I ain't about to be chopping away at people's dreams. You know what I'm saying? So I it was I got out in a more harmless way than most people because it's really hard to stop. And even though I kind of pivoted well into broadcasting, it was tough, man. It was tough being quote unquote normal. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's a total shift in thinking. It's like your soul takes a new path, and we don't even know what that path is. You just know that it's not what it has always
Mhm.
been. Um, and it's scary, man. It's scary, and a lot of people talk lightly about it, but um, we quote unquote retire when we're still relatively young, but we do really leave. It is kind of a death, so to speak, of a person and a rebirth of a person as well. But when you're reborn, you got to learn all kinds of stuff, and it's just everything's new, everything's a challenge, everything's a path never taken before, and at that stage of your life, it's tricky, man, and it's a little scary because you're very aware that, at least when you're a baby, you're not aware that you don't know things. When you're older, you're aware that you don't know, so it's scary, man. I got lucky. I thank God for that cramp every day. I got lucky, dude. So it was I got put on the path I was supposed to be on, and I made it out unscathed, fortunately.